Hi there, Libra. It's Jen here from tarotspirit.net. I'm doing your 2018 overview reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've already laid out the cards. I'm using 4 different decks for each quarter of the year because I like to see any repeating cards. But I'm looking, we have the Hierophant out twice. We don't really have many repeating cards, which doesn't mean it's not good or bad. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. But if I see cards coming out more than once, it tends to point to maybe potentially a bigger theme because that card is being highlighted twice. So let's just jump right in. So for the first quarter, for January, February, and March, it's really looks to me like a time of going within. I feel like it's going to be a peaceful time for you guys. So really going within to try to find more balance. I think what happens is we try to control external things. And there are some tangible external things that we can control that can help minimize anxiety and create peace in our surroundings and help create balance. But if we spend a lot of time trying to control external things, it's usually not unsuccessful because the only thing we can truly control is ourselves, our own reactions and our thoughts and how we're spending our time. So it's like you're really doing that hard inner work, but I don't think I think it snowballs because you really are finding balance and peace from going within and being mindful of your thoughts and controlling your anxiety through things like meditation or exercise, or again just really controlling your thoughts. And we do have under the deck this Queen of Swords, so she's about the swords or air cards which govern our thoughts, our head. And so being careful about how you communicate, which Librans are really good at anyway, but being really mindful of your thoughts and keeping them positive, constructive, and disciplined. This is a very disciplined sign, and a very factual sign. So, I mean, that's one way if you find yourself worrying, to challenge that worry, that fear, because fear is not based in reality. It's just taking negativity and running with it. It has no basis for reality in most cases. It's usually the worst case scenario. So it's like challenging yourself, like what's the chance of that happening? How many times has that happened before? Just because something happened before doesn't mean it's going to happen again. Like, you know what I mean? It's sort of think, okay, enough, stop. That's not a fruitful way to be spending the time in your head. So challenging your own thought processes and being disciplined in your thoughts, and so that all is going to work together to create more balance and harmony. Now, the practical things you can do in your surroundings is, if you have any financial anxiety, looking for a career change, asking for a promotion, going back to school to get qualified or certified to do something that you is going to bring more joy into your life if your work is stressful or unfulfilling. Starting a savings account, getting your financial things in order, decluttering your house, making a calm space in your house, living with someone that's calm and peaceful, and not being in a living situation with someone that's very negative and disruptive. And some people like to have a combative, negative atmosphere. I don't know if it's because people grow up that way and they it somehow is feels normal, and it feels weird if there's not tension. I don't know why these people exist, but I've met plenty of them, saying, "Hey, I want to do anything I can do to minimize peace, and I'm not going to welcome or continue to be in an atmosphere that's negative." So the way you can control that is by removing yourself from it. So really practical things on top of disciplining your thoughts to bring more balance into your life. It's real, like after these this sort of journey within in this first quarter, it's really going to be feeling a lot better. And you see it right here with the second quarter with April. I mean, you have the victory card. So just like when you have a negative experience, how it can kind of cloud your whole life, even if it's just one little area, it can you just carry that stress and it spills over into all the other parts of your life. Um, Positivity, balance, calmness, peace, all those things we were just talking about will spill into the other parts of your life too. And here we have the victory card. So um, a, a homecoming, some of you could travel home, receiving accolades. You're just going to be, I guess they call it vibrating at a different frequency. You will just have, that vibe. You'll just have a nicer vibe, and people will be drawn to it and resonate with it. And so you will be more successful in life by managing your internal world, your thoughts, your behaviors, all those types of things. The more positive and calm and peaceful they are, you're going to just radiate peacefulness, calmness, and positivity. And we have this beautiful high priestess here, and what would that be, May? But these all, they're not, this is fluid, so don't think this will only happen in March and this will only happen in May. This high priestess you've really gotten now, by doing this work, in touch with your emotions, your intuition, I'm sorry, I meant to say. And you're really learning to navigate through the world by really listening to your intuition. Did you have a weird feeling about that person? Did you have a hunch about that? Did you sense that maybe there would be a traffic backup on the way to work, and make sure you checked the traffic before you left so you could get there on time? Just little things like that. But when you really start to use it in your everyday life, it's kind of magic. And bringing magic into your everyday life just makes life magical, more special. You know what I mean? It's just, again, just positivity and happiness building and building on itself. And then you have this gorgeous 10 of Cups, which is the happily ever after. Okay, how will you live happily ever after? It's not by finding the perfect man or woman and having kids and finding a big house. It's about everything we were just talking about. Gratitude, managing your stress, being positive, having good vibes, being a good example out there in the world. So it's like you're really like, I feel like you're really truly going to be like, I feel happy. Like I'm managing, I got my shit together. I'm managing things. I'm taking responsibility and ownership. I'm making the changes I need to do. I'm being disciplined in my thoughts and my behaviors and how I treat myself in my inner world. And it's completely changing how I look at everything else. And that's just wisdom, good old-fashioned wisdom that you're gaining. And you're also, I think, going to be sought out by other people people are going to be drawn to you. Like, you look great. You feel, even if you're not doing anything, you're going to look better. You're just everything. You're just going to glow with positivity, and people are going to be attracted to that. So think about that in you are an example to other people, and that's not why you're doing that, but it's another one of those good side effects, and people then may seek you out. So people will seek you out for good reasons and for more probably subconsciously negative reasons because they want to sort of suck in that good vibe. So just be aware of protecting yourself and listening to your intuition when things like that happen. So into the third quarter, the Five of Pentacles, I read a little differently in this deck than I do in other decks. In other decks, it's a poverty mentality, a feeling of lack, even though when there's help available. But I tend to read it, I almost feel like, that we have these cords, that these energetic cords that were attached to other people. And for me, I feel like this is reminding you that even if people aren't present, and meaning whether they're right next to you or across town or have passed, we're still all connected. Everything's connected. And to take comfort in that. Like, don't forget that just because someone isn't maybe right there with you doesn't mean you still aren't connected, that there isn't still support there. There is still support. I also think it's like we're wise in some areas and still naive and young and learning in others. I mean, and to not to get too down on yourself if you feel like you were coming off such a high at the first half of this year. If maybe you have something bad happens, you say something wrong, you do so, you know what I mean? You slip up, not to just go down that rabbit hole and just somehow get really off track because you're like, you're just like, oh my God, I was feeling so good and I let my guard down and this is what happens. And then boom, you're in that negative spiral again. So be mindful of that to allow yourself to be human, and we're not perfect, and you can learn from any experience and just to get back on track. I mean, the Temperance card, no one is ever in perfect balance. I mean, that's not realistic. But we just always try, okay, now I got to get back on track. It's just like a diet. Maybe you have a day where you don't do such a great job staying on your diet or your health routine, but that doesn't mean you just never but you just, the next day you wake up and you start again, and it's okay. We have this gorgeous Six of Cups. So I am feeling like this theme of multi-generations and parents and kids, and maybe some of you will be finding out you're pregnant. Maybe some of you who had trouble getting pregnant will find out you're pregnant. I'm not a doctor, always go to the doctor, but I'm sort of just feeling some sort of vibe around kids and multi-generations. Maybe you're just getting together with extended family. If you've had a child, getting together with the grandparents, or if the grandparents aren't there, again, remember that they are around you. And this Page of Cups is just really beautiful messages from young people about love, about new children, about this can also be romance coming in. Maybe the person has kids. Just a lot of positive messages and new beginnings that would elicit a positive emotional response. The Knight of Swords at the bottom, this is just that. I think that communication that sort of knocks you off your game. Maybe someone was very sharp tongue with you, or totally something you said just came out wrong, or whatever. And so just be aware of that stuff happens. I mean, that happens, and it can't, not to let it, it's interesting, the devil was right, not to let it go into a negative spiral, especially in your thoughts, and to be, get really down on yourself. And we have on the fourth quarter this Hierophant again. So it's like maybe that happened, and then back in the last quarter of the year, you're like, okay, let's get back on track here. Let's remember all the lessons and let go of sort of the negativity and resentment or blame and things like that, especially towards yourself, and move forward. Like it's okay. It's okay. We there are always going to be bumps in the road, and that's what really defines who you are. Because everyone's great. I mean, that's what I think. Sometimes when you're with a partner, it's I hear people say, "Oh, well, they're really great most of the time," and sort of justify this bad behavior when things maybe aren't going so well. And it's like, everyone usually is pretty happy when everything's going their way and things are good. Like that's no testament to someone's true nature or character. It's like, yeah, things are going great, so I'm in a good mood and I'm good. It is when things are difficult how people react. And again, we all have our bad days, but don't blatantly disregard bad behaviors and patterns and red flags just because they can be really, really great other times. Because life is, there are a lot of difficult times in life. We lose people, we lose jobs, we go through hard times. I mean, that the wheel just turns around us. So always work on how you manage difficult times, but don't accept completely bad behavior just because, oh, well, they're going through a bad time and I go through bad times. There's a difference between, just having a outlying experience that wasn't so good, and just people who just lose it when they have a bad time. That was kind of a random message in there, but someone needed to hear that. Then we have this gorgeous star card. You're healing. Okay. I think this whole year is a year of healing for you. And that's like this time next year, coming into the ending of 2018, is really, you're going to be like kind of like a different person. Like you're going to really interact with the world in a different way, and live in the world in a different way, and really be have enriched your inner world and how you deal with things. I think it's going to be really turned inward for you. And I think but it's going to be not in a selfish way, but in a very positive, healing, and learning how to deal with things and manage things in a very healthy, healing way. Also with money, with practical things, you're going to do the inner work and the outer work. Like it's like you're going to be very disciplined in a very positive way, not in an uptight like I'm going to control that. That's the difference. It's between, there are people who try to control things, and you get into things like, again, I'm not a therapist, but things like OCD and compulsive behaviors like that, and I'm going to control everything I can. But usually that's to sort of mitigate anxiety and things on the inside. And this way, it's like you're coming from the inside, and then by managing your anxiety that way. But then you're also setting your environment up as best you can control to foster that. And it's a very different way to look at it. It's just, I'm not sure if I'm explaining that right, but I'm sure you guys get what I'm saying. And then there is this financial theme at the end. We have this Four of Pentacles at the bottom. This is my boundary card. And so I think that's another way that you're learning to take care of yourself this year, is by setting boundaries in all sorts of ways. with other people, and even maybe yourself, like doing a budget, being very practical about your surroundings, but also with other people and behaviors, like I was just speaking about, what you will and will not tolerate, and the discipline that comes in there, which is what is the hardest, I think, for people to, I know myself, is okay, my boundary is I'm not going to tolerate this behavior. But then when someone does that behavior, you act on it. You don't justify it, excuse it, make excuse to be in denial about it, because then you're like, oh, but I really like this person and I've wanted someone in my life, or I really liked such and such. And then sometimes it's like you feel like, oh, well, I've accepted it for so long, I can't now put my foot down. We play all these mind games. I've done all this myself. But really being clear, and then the discipline is just, and this is self-respect. Another theme, I guess, is that's coming through is definitely self-respect, and saying, I respect myself enough that I said I wasn't going to tolerate this behavior again. And I'm not going to get into a pattern of abuse or just those cycles. And this can be with friends, with romantic partnerships, even in the workplace, anywhere you go. Because there's relationships everywhere. We have to deal with people everywhere. And even with yourselves, with ourselves, but really saying, okay, I said I wasn't going to tolerate this one more time. I communicated that, and it has happened. And then having the discipline and the self-respect to follow through on that. That's what builds confidence, is having confidence in ourselves and us knowing, if I say I'm going to set my alarm early and get up and work out, I do it. If I say I'm going to save money or do a budget, I do it. If I say I'm going to listen to red flags this time, or that I cannot stay in this negative situation any longer, and I've made it very clear and that person continues, then I leave, or I do what I say. I follow through. And again, this Two of Pentacles, I read a little differently in this deck as well. It's like you've weathered the storm, and you, even if a lot is going on this year, again, all this inner work, you're managing it on an internal level. You're not getting stressed out. Sometimes when a lot's going on, good or bad, we just go, oh, I'm so stressed out. And we can heighten I'm stressed. We just Bill, I'm so stressed, instead of saying, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to calm down, I'm going to control what I can control. I'm not going to let this consume me and, flow into all areas of my life. I'm going to focus on the positive and focus on what we do have. I'm going to, just talking ourselves down and through situations, and remaining centered at the center of the wheel. And then when things are sort of stormy around us, which happens, even if it's not happening directly to us, we don't absorb that negative energy. We don't get sucked into that stress and negativity, and we're able to stay balanced. Beautiful reading. Look at this gorgeous star card. I hope you guys have a lovely, lovely 2018. Take care.